60% of people reported being emotionally detached from work. 19% as being miserable. If you fall into any one of these categories, then this video is for you. And if you don't, then I hope it will be useful for you should you need it at some point in the future. When we're young, we can't wait to grow up, start earning our own money and doing adult things, whatever that might mean for you. For me, it meant being able to buy my own food, buy my own clothes, earn an income and save, invest and spend however I wanted. And that's all good and well because, hey, end of the day, you went to school, you went to college or university and you managed to graduate and land on your feet and find yourself a full-time career. It takes a lot of hard work and effort, especially in a competitive job market. So well done. You're earning good money, your savings are increasing, you might even be able to invest in the financial markets or put a deposit down on a property that you've had your eye on. Best of all, since you're working, you can pretty much afford to do most of the things that you want within reason. You can go on holiday multiple times a year, you can buy the latest iPhone whenever it comes out, and you can even buy those stupidly expensive AirPods. But for me personally, making it was being able to go into Sainsbury's or Tesco's or your local supermarket and buy whatever I wanted without having to look at the price. But then something happens, and I know you've been here. As humans, the more we do something, the more we get used to it. And the more we do something, the better we get at that given thing. Now that's great, so long as the thing you're doing is challenging, exciting, and you're able to learn from doing it. However, as you know, this isn't always the case. The problem arises when you do something so much that it becomes easy, less challenging, and the learning curve begins to flatten. For example, as a kid, you probably gained lots of satisfaction from being able to recite the alphabet from A to Z in one go. Once you mastered that, it was no longer impressive, you got bored of it, and so you moved on to something completely different, whether that was complex multiplications or spelling longer words. And so in the context of your career, you know, when you start, you're all excited, you're gonna be in this new cool working environment. For me, I remember I was super excited to be able to put on a suit 5 days a week and go into work, be around, you know, smart and driven individuals, learn about financial markets, learn about asset classes, learn about investing, build client relationships with all these, you know, huge companies and clients. And for you, it might be something completely different. We enter the world of work, learn how to do our jobs, and then one day something weird happens. One day you wake up and you realize you just can't be bothered to go into work today. And that's fine, we have off days, right? We're all human, we have off days here and there, and it's okay to not feel like going into the office on a given day. But then you realize one day turns into 2 days, and then 2 days turns into 3 days, and then you ask yourself, hold on, something's wrong here, something's not right. You see, you don't know exactly what it is, but you feel a growing dislike or boredom for the work that you do. I know this feeling because I experienced it. You can't be bothered to go into work and look at another PowerPoint presentation or open another Excel spreadsheet or go to another meeting that is 9 times out of 10 pointless. But you can't just stay at home because otherwise you'll just get fired. And so you have to pull yourself into work against your will. Now, as humans, we're quite stubborn, right? So when you are asked to do, or when you're forced to do something against your own will, you tend to detest it even more. Now, it's important that you don't get this mixed up with stepping outside of your comfort zone, because typically stepping outside of one's comfort zone is a choice. It's a choice that we tend to make knowing that it's going to be uncomfortable, but it doesn't go against our own will. And so when we go into work against our own will, it makes us dislike work even more. Other signs to look out for that could mean you're getting sick of your job include you dislike the people that you work with, you lack passion or an interest in the work that you're doing, the culture around you at work is toxic, you feel like an imposter when you're at work, you have no close relationships or bonds within your company, you're constantly stressed when you're there, work-related stress is impacting your physical health, your mental health is suffering, you're gaining stubborn, unhealthy weight, your performance at work is suffering as well, you've got a poor work-life balance, you're constantly bored at work because the nature of the work has become too repetitive, it's not challenging anymore, and last but not least, you're not learning anything new. If any of what I've just described resonates with you or your experiences in the world of work, then here's how I would suggest you approach these feelings. Initially, you want to keep your thoughts to yourself, as growing a feeling of dislike for your work is actually quite common. The person you sit next to, or when you're in the office you sit next to, probably has or is experiencing the same feelings as you. It can happen to anyone, and as humans, we're quite emotional beings. And so one day we might love our jobs, And then the next day your manager might annoy you, or one of your colleagues might do something stupid, and you're going to wonder, why the hell are you still at this company working in this role? You want to try and make things work before you quit. Kind of like a relationship. If you've been dating someone, or you're engaged, or you're married, and your partner says something that really annoys you, are you really going to break the relationship there and then? Chances are you're not. You'll express your feelings, you'll communicate, and you'll try and get to a solution where you both see eye to eye. You'll realize what you have is more important than the argument itself, and then you try and make things work. Similarly, you should have this type of approach with your career. Try and make things work before rushing to the door and resigning. If things are still a bit rocky, it might be worth talking to someone. Oftentimes we're so encapsulated with our own words in our own tunnel vision that we can't see the bigger picture. And it's times like these where having a second opinion can prove extremely helpful. Sometimes you just need someone to help you see the situation from a different perspective or different angle. So talk to someone. Ideally, someone whose opinions and advice you trust and respect. Next, you want to take time to look after yourself. Healthy body, healthy mind. Unhealthy body, unhealthy mind. What you eat has a direct impact on how you feel, and how you feel has a direct impact on your day-to-day, your outlook on life, and your productivity at work. So it's very important, not just what you eat, but how much sleep you get. You know, sleep is vital for us to have good days, get good rest, be physically and mentally energized so we can attack the day in the best way we want. You know, if you're working in the world of finance, for example, you might be working extremely long hours. Is that impacting your fitness? Is that impacting your health? Is that impacting your sleep? If it is, chances are you're not going to enjoy going into work. And so make sure you're eating well and sleeping enough. You see, when I entered the world of work, I put on weight, stubborn, unhealthy weight. Why? Because I was sat on a desk for 10, 11, 12 hours a day, not being very active, not going to the gym as much as I should have, and constantly snacking from the vending machine every afternoon. When we say look after yourself, we aren't just talking physically. It's important that you look after your mental health as well. And so you take the appropriate steps to make sure you are in the right headspace going forward. All right, next, you want to take a break. When I was at work and I was feeling bored or sick of the job, I would take a few days off, take a holiday. Sometimes we just need a change of environment in order to reset and then get back to work feeling fresh. So take a break, it might help. Another thing you can do is try to find the meaning in your work. Now, what do I mean by that? Most people go to work and they don't appreciate or understand where they sit within the organization. As a result, it's hard to appreciate or understand your direct contribution to the company. Yes, it's true. If you work in a big corporation or a big company, you are just a small cog in a big machine, right? However, you are not a small cog in the direct team that you work for. You know, your direct team might have 4 or 5 people, or even 10 or 20 people. You're not a small cog in that machine. And that team that you're in plays a role as part of a bigger team or a bigger region, and it all fits together to help the company achieve its objectives. Therefore, it's important to know where you sit within the org structure to see how your team might contribute to the region, which might contribute to the bottom line of the revenue or profit of the organization. When you put your role into perspective, it can add some meaning into the work that you do. It can allow you to go into work and know, okay, I'm going into work to do this. This is the impact it's creating. And oftentimes that's what many people need in order to keep going. When I was working in asset management, we used to manage money, millions, billions of pounds, and invest it on behalf of pension funds. This work meant investing money into the financial markets in order for it to grow, so the employees who retire can have a stable income to live off when they retire. I tried to find meaning in this and feel good about going into work, tidying up presentations, PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets, attending client meetings, taking meeting notes, so on and so forth. For me, it kind of wore off after a while because I felt I was too disconnected from the end client. And that's fine. For some people, it might work. For some people, it might not. There was just so much going on between my day-to-day work and the end client that I didn't really feel like I was having much of an impact on their lives directly. In addition to this, when the fund's performance was negative, it meant we were, doing a disservice to the clients, And so, you know, it's not always positive. This obviously depends on the industry you're in and how good your company is at reaching its goals and objectives. Big caveat, that's just me and my experience. It's going to be different for every single one of you. And so it's important for you to assess your own situation and your employer. So if you try, but you struggle to find meaning in the work that you do or in your career, you can do what I think most people do. And that is, you can see work as a means to an end, i.e. just do it to pay the bills, and then have a hobby or a true passion outside of work that you really care about, or a fulfilling life outside of work that you really enjoy. Of course, if you're fulfilled from your career as well as in your personal life outside of work, then you're doing just fine. Oftentimes, a lot of people have one thing outside of work that they like to spend a lot of time and money on. It could be a hobby, it could be a passion, it could be a side hustle. It varies for different people. For some people, it's cycling. For others, it's traveling. Whatever you do, be sure to have something going on in your life outside of work, because the last thing you want is for your work to become your life. All right, if you still hate your job, what you want to do next is make a list of pros and cons. You want to get an A4 piece of paper, draw a vertical line from top to bottom. On the left side, write pros. On the right side, write cons. And then start listing the pros and cons of being in your current role. Now, it's very important. It could be quite a tricky task or a challenging task, but it's very important that you don't quit until you have at least 20 points overall, minimum of 5 points on each side. That's very important. Also, it's important that you do this exercise when you have a clear mind. That way, there's no emotional bias that can creep in to your responses. If you do this exercise correctly, you know, spend 30 minutes to an hour on it, or however long it might take, it will be an eye-opening exercise, and it could help you decide on your best next step. If the pros outweigh the cons, then it might be worth staying a little longer in your current role. And if the cons outweigh the pros, then it might be worth exploring new opportunities. Personally, I think life is too short to accept work as a means to an end for 45 years. I wouldn't want to work away in a job that I really hate for 45 years only to live for the weekend. Having said this, it's important to know that it's okay to do a job that you hate for a period of time. Don't do it for your whole career. Don't do it for 45 years. We spend a third of our lives working. Do you really want to spend a third of your life in a job that you hate, miserable and angry and sad? I don't think anyone does. So yeah, don't. So this brings me to the option of quitting. If you've tried everything and you've explored every option and you still find that, you know, it's time to leave your current role, here's what you need to do. You need to quit, but quitting doesn't mean sticking two fingers up to your boss and just leaving through the door abruptly. You should aim to resign gracefully. Now, if you want a video on how to resign or the right way to go about doing so, let me know in the comments below. Once you know you want to quit your job, you need to plan to move ahead. Your plan needs to answer a few key questions before you do anything. Do you want to stay in the same company and explore a different role? Or do you want to stay in a similar role but explore a different company? Do you want to change industry? Do you want to stay in the same industry and explore a different company? Or do you want to explore a completely different industry and a completely different role? If that's the case, how qualified or how well experienced are you in going for that option? How easy is it going to be to secure a role in a different industry, in a different role, if that's what you want? Are you going to have to drop a few years in terms of your title? How much does a title appeal to you or matter to you? Is it more important that you get a certain figure in your salary, or is a title more important to you? All these things are worth considering before you start thinking about, you know, leaving a company, leaving a role and joining or interviewing at new places. Once you make your plan, you need to start your job search. You can go about this three ways. You can network, you can reach out to recruiters, or you can go about it alone. You can start doing online applications and applying with your resume or your CV and a cover letter. Either way, my advice to you would be to do these things whilst you still have a job. The last thing you want is to be looking for a job and be unemployed. And if you have no savings or nothing to live off, you're really gonna struggle. So most people, when they are in a job they hate, they are in the background looking for new opportunities. So that's the best way, and that's the best advice I would give to you. Explore opportunities while you still have a safety net. If you're sick and tired of your manager, your colleagues, your work environment, and you just need to get out of there, by all means do so. But just make sure you have a safety net in terms of, I don't know, some savings that will last you 6 months to a year that you can rely on for so long as it takes for you to get interviews and a new offer. And be aware, moving jobs isn't easy. It's not a quick process. It can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to even more than a year, to land a new role that fits all of your criteria as well. So you might want to ask yourself, you know, if I leave this role, is the same issue or are the same issues going to crop up 6 months from now when I join a new company? If so, then it's an issue with you personally as opposed to the company. So that's something worth keeping in mind. And last but not least, before you start a new role, it's vital and it's extremely important to enjoy some downtime. So typically when you're moving between, you know, 2 roles, you get a period in between where you can have, you know, some time off, a month or 2 or 3 months. Enjoy that time, take a break. You don't want to be working forever and ever. Sometimes you need a reset, sometimes you need a break. So enjoy that time off. Try and get as much time as you can or as you need and enjoy that. This is important because it will do wonders for you mentally and it's a good reset. If you want access to live online insight events by companies, check out Simply. It's the first link in the video description below. And if you made it to the end, thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.